It's a pleasure to be here. And this is the second time we are being part of this event, and it's something that we really value this collaboration. Since the last time we met, Birla Pivot has grown significantly. We have moved from a 2,500 ARR to about 5,000 ARR, and we are one of the fastest growing startups in India. And the reason for that is I think we are solving for something which is very real. If you look at it, the whole project space has grown by leaps and bounds. The projects are more in number and they are larger in scale. However, the fundamental function that supports it, which is a procurement, is still operating in an old-fashioned manner. So if you look at it, thousands of crores of projects are still being managed through phone calls, through Excel sheets, through WhatsApp messages. And that's what basically leads to a lot of opaqueness. It leads to a lack of efficiency, and it also leads to essentially a lack of speed. So what we are essentially doing is we are making that which is scattered and more manual into an integrated digital flow, which brings around more efficiency, it brings around more transparency, and of course speed. And what essentially it adds value is that essentially a bunch of three core areas, which is typical for any e-commerce, which is first, price. So we are working with the top manufacturers, which is bringing in price reliability. And compare it to what happens today. Your price is a function of your last conversation. So we are bringing about, this is a huge value add. Like the projects can depend on the price that we quote. The second is credit is integrated into the function. And as you know, cash flow is one of the most important features to manage when you're managing a project. And we have very customized, tailor-made financial solutions which are supporting this project. So you have a buyer, even before they transact, they know their eligibility, they know the terms, and they know the cash flows. So the moment you see we give them price and cash flow reliability, the procurement function moves from becoming a reactive function to a function which is more planned function. And that brings about efficiency in cost and scale. The second piece, which is very essential piece, is assortment. So we have more than 45,000 SKUs on our platform. We have more across 35 plus categories. So anything from commodities to behind the wall to the front of the wall, all of it can be procured under one place. So it's convenience and efficiency at scale that we provide. And the third, a very important piece and a very critical piece, is that the experience of fulfillment. If you look at it today, once a buyer places the order, they have no clue where their order is. Like they are just thankful sometimes that the order has come in full, much less, like they're waiting for time. Whereas when they interact with us, from the time they place the order, they have an end-to-end visibility of the, the entire order, where it is, etc. And essentially, when we move, therefore, when we bring all this together, we are creating trust in the platform, right? And it is the trust which is basis of, like the scaling up of procurement. And that's the vision for our platform as well. We want to create the most trusted B2B platform in India, which is Birla Pivot. So I'll break down that question. It's going to be a slightly longish answer probably, I think, but let me break it down into two parts. See, first and foremost, what happens is when you are talking about making something which is offline into digital, you're essentially, what you're saying is what is manual and scattered, you are going to build a system which will turn the complexity into an ease by leveraging technology. So essentially what technology brings is not just speed, it also brings transparency, reliability, and very essentially what we are using it for also is learning whatever we are learning on the go, because we are also adopting to how the business works on ground. And we have built these technology stacks completely in-house. So we have very key 4 modules on which our entire technology stack is built, which is BP Grid, BP Edge, BP Vault, and we have BP Experience. So very quickly run you through what each of this is. Like the BP Grid is your end-to-end commerce engine, wherein all our sellers, all our catalogs, all our price points are uploaded, and you can see it real time, and it is an end-to-end visibility which is there. The second is the experience, which are buyer engagement layer. So there, the buyer, it's an omni-channel wherein they can log into a system, but even they can send a WhatsApp, and our system will read it and convert it into an RFQ. Even a loosely worded one gets converted very efficiently into an RFQ. At the back end, it breaks it down into different SKUs, engages with the seller, gets the code, and sends the integrated code back to the buyer, all within minutes instead of waiting for hours or days, right? Then we have the vault. That's a very critical piece, which is wherein we have collaborated with multiple financial institutions. But essentially, what we are doing is that we are having a very strong underwriting engine, which is looking at very actively at more than 100 points of decision making. It has 20 plus APIs, and it is very actively also learning basis the behavior that's seeing, of payment patterns, etc. And it's creating a very robust underwriting and monitoring framework, right, on which you can scale this. And finally, if you look at the experience leg, see, the experience leg is essentially creating, executing through discipline, right? And it's creating a very clear perspective of OTIF. It is giving a clear perspective of compliances. It is giving a clear perspective of order timelines, etc. So it's building a sense of reliability. So essentially, if you look at it, we have leveraged this technology to scale up fast and transform this industry. And that's the growth story because of which we have scaled up so fast. So actually, I'll just let you know that we have had a fantastic reception, which is the cause behind the growth. So while we are proud about this 5,000 crores of ARR, making us one of the fastest B2B platforms, and startups in India, but what really gives us confidence is the fact that all the buyers that we have onboarded have bought on an average twice as much this year than what they did last year, right? And the reason for that is essentially, when you look at it, is that when you look at technology, essentially a lack of adoption typically is never because it's complex. Many a times the lack of adoption is because the user does not see an immediate value in adopting it, right? So how do you create that value? It's by knowing what are the pain points. So when we look at a site of a project manager who's on site, what are his pain points? They want to reduce follow-ups. They want to reduce delays. They don't want any surprises, last minute surprises in their projects. So what we are essentially doing is that we are building trust. And how are we doing that? Every order that's placed on us, we have a faster response time. As I said, our edge basically gives them a fast response times in minutes. Once they are on a platform, their material is in transit, our experience will basically give them an entire clarity on where exactly the material is. And it's not like it's not a surprise to them where the material is. And once the transaction concludes, our vault and our grid essentially automatically closes all loops, and they don't have to run around for any documentation, etc. So what we are removing is, we are removing this chaos and uncertainty from the life of a project manager, right? And that leads to efficiency. In fact, like one great way I've heard it being put is that when you make the good thing or the right thing the easiest thing to do, you have adoption. See, today, if you look at it, whether it's a buyer, we are looking at solving for them at scale, from all the way from solving for their procurement, for their price, for their credit, and for their fulfillment, which is something that I've elaborated before. But what is even equally exciting is, even for our sellers, we are providing a whole host of value, right? If you look at it, a seller today in the market is, just does not have a clear sense of demand. They have fragmented channels. They have, their own sales channels. They have WhatsApp networks, etc. But they have no clear sense of demand. We are actually giving them structured demand across, at a project level, across thousands of customers and across almost close to 400 cities. They're able to plan their production better. They're able to plan their inventory better, and they plan to dispatch better. Second is, they are having a very clear sense of cash flow, because what I told you about the vault, right? So they are not chasing any more, payments. They are getting to scale with minimal risk. The third piece, very clearly, and it's a very important piece, I feel, is that they're having a great sense of performance. For many of the sellers, they get to know that there is a problem when a buyer calls them, right? So essentially, what we are doing is, from the time they get onboarded, they get a complete sense of our, if you look at the grid, it gives them a sense of where their orders are, where their OTIF is, what is the compliance issue, and they get to know what's working, what's not working, and that helps them tweak and have better customer relationships. We are able to help them scale without diluting control. We are protecting price points. We are protecting brand integrity. We are even protecting the positioning that they have in the market. So we are helping them scale without diluting. This is very different than a discounting platform. They look at us as a digital sales channel. So essentially, when we look at it, we are solving for both sides of the ecosystem at scale. And that's why if you see, we are growing so fast and we are having such high repeat set of buyers.